Good day, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fat Torching Over 50. And of course, you don't have to be 50 years old or younger or older or any of that to actually enjoy the podcast and maybe learn. I'm Connor McIver. I am not a professional of any kind in the weight loss world, but I have done it. I did torch off 135 pounds of adipose tissue or body fat. I've been fat since I was a very young age and started, eating, kind of closet eating then. I carried some really horrible habits with me for a very, very long time. And I have a little bit of an addictive nature, so when I start something, usually I keep going with that something, even if it is detrimental to my health. And I don't know if any of you out there watching this happen to have a little bit of that in you, but a little bit goes a long way in the addiction world, so you have to be very careful. So my addiction didn't run into super hardcore stuff and anything illegal, but it did run into the smoking. I did that for 23 years or so. Was able to give that up quite a few years ago. I did chewing tobacco. That one was tough to get rid of. If anybody out there is on that, it's just got so much nicotine. It's just so much. That was difficult to get rid of. And then of course the alcohol. That was also tough to get rid of. I think the toughest thing though was the food. And of course, food is life sustaining, right? The other things, not anything. Alcohol's a toxin. Cigarettes aren't helping in any way. Chewing tobacco is not helping. Cigarettes and chewing tobacco did a great job at maybe suppressing appetite, but if you're addicted to food, that's not helping. So there we go. But they also cause, cancer and some really big problems as well. So talking about the food addiction, that's kind of what got me into trying to figure things out. So I did a lot of the dieting that most people do. I did the caloric restriction. In fact, I remember growing up, my mom was always trying to lose 20 pounds. That was just the way it was. It was always 20 pounds. So she started doing these different diets, and there was, in fact, these little caramels called AIDS. And I don't know if anybody was around back then, but they were supposed to be, that was like the diet. So yours truly found the box of these little caramels. They tasted like caramels. And, ate the whole box. So that's really not how a diet's supposed to be. My parents, God rest both of their souls, and I hope they're in a very happy place, they weren't in my face about the weight and the fat I was putting on. I remember being a 16 husky, very young, and in fact, it was after that I really couldn't find anything that fit anymore. So my mom started making my clothes, and that was a mess because at least back then when I would go to school with clothes that mom made out of fabric that she bought at the fabric store, a little rough. So that's kind of how I grew up. So, went through, I did have some times in my life when I was able to get somewhere close to being, thinner in a way, enough to get on the police department back in 1990. So I did torch off some fat to do that. I remember doing that. It was a lot of cardio, a lot of running. That's how I started. And when I first started running, I thought my lungs were going to explode as if I had some kind of an asthma. But it turns out that it was just my lungs were so out of condition that the running burned. But it took, a couple months. That went away. So I started running, getting into some kind of shape. And I remember eating just lots of carbs and so I would take noodles, pasta noodles, boil those, and then I would pour V8 juice after I drained the water. I'd pour V8 juice over and eat that. That was a meal. So I wasn't paying attention to protein. So I probably was losing a lot of muscle if I even had it back then. I've been working out for a very long time, though. I have been in the gym since I was probably 15, lifting weights. So I did have some kind of a base under all the blubber, but it was there. I just couldn't really see it. But moving into it, the time went on, so I got down to somewhere around, and my best in the academy was around 240 pounds. My waist size at that time was around 40, 38 to 40. And, it was, which is a lot different from today. Just to give you an example, I'm 260 pounds today. And currently my waist is 34. So it's just different, the composition. I have a lot more muscle on me, a lot leaner than I was even when I was in the police academy. So in the police academy, that kind of went on, and I kept running and took care of myself in that way. But again, that habit was still there, that eating habit. And the eating bad habit, I guess, and also, binging, eating more food than I really actually needed. As the years went on, I did all those diets. I tried Atkins. Atkins really did a great job, got me down to about 270 pounds from that high, that mid threes figure where I came from originally. So it did a good job. Ketogenic seems to be really good for me. That's the low carb way, and it also helps with the fasting, and that's what I picked up back in the day. About back in 2017, I started fasting, but my issue, and it took me a lot of practice to get the refeed correct. So if you're going to start fasting, if that's the way that you're going to manage your weight and keep lean, and it does work very well for that, because I find through my daily practice, and that's kind of where this video is going, kind of that daily methodology. I do watch the scale. I don't panic when I'm up a few pounds, because it's difficult to gain multiple pounds in a day. So when you see a fluctuation like that, it's typically water. And I know the way that I am. If I have anything that's laden with sugar, then I'll put on a pound or 2 or 3 of water weight within that cycle. So then when I get weighed next, I see the scale up 3 or 4 pounds. I don't panic. I understand that 3 or 4 pounds happens to be because of something that I ate in my diet that probably isn't the best for me. So I know that, having done this for a very long time. To actually torch off 135 pounds of fat took 7 to 8 months. So it didn't take long once I got the fasting down and had all that practice, and it started becoming more wins than losses. And when you're doing any kind of a dietary approach, any kind of a change, you definitely want to make sure you talk to your medical professional before doing such, because you could be doing something that's detrimental. I remember when I first started fasting, I was taking medicines for diabetes and so on, and I started to get sick. Come to find out that those medicines weren't necessary when I wasn't eating, and then in fact I was able to correct those issues. That's a whole nother story, but it was wonderful. You can do some Googling and look at fasting, how it cures, or it seems to, and again, I'm not a doctor, so you need to go talk to your doctor about this, but I can read and I can understand studies, and it seems like in some cases it does actually reverse or cure type 2 diabetes. So look at that if you happen to know anybody that has that affliction, as I did. So you can at least check and see if in fact it's something that works for you. And I definitely want you to look into it. But as far as torching off, if you're not taking medicines and such, again, you still need to talk to your doctor before embarking on any kind of a dietary change. For me, it worked great, and for me, it's something that I continue to use to maintain my current level of fitness. And I will continue to get better as I continue to work out. I continue to get stronger, and I also continue to fast. So I'll have a couple days, and I'll watch the scale. So if I get a little happy and I put on 2 or 3 pounds of fat, and I know it's fat, then I'll do a 2 or 3 day fast, or a 4 day fast. And then I'll have a nice little refeed and maybe do another couple days. But I'm constantly feasting and fasting. But when it comes to the feasting, I'm not overdoing it, because that's really hard on your body when you're loading it up with thousands of calories on a refeed. You want to do it simple. After a while, here's the beautiful thing about this whole mechanism of fasting. After a while, the hunger hormone, and I know that's what a lot of people say, oh my God, I couldn't go a day without eating. There's no way I could go 2 days without eating, or 3, or oh my God, 14? Really, Connor, you did 14? There's a cat, you can Google this, Angus Barbieri, and he's a Scottish cat, and he took off a lot of weight, and he fasted for 388 days. Over a year, he ate nothing except black coffee and a multivitamin, and of course water. That was it. And he torched off a lot of weight and remained fine for the rest of his life. When you start it, it works. The ghrelin, the hunger hormone, actually starts to lessen over time. So at the beginning, it's kind of panic city. Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. After a while, you start to see this hunger as waves. It comes and it goes. And typically it comes at the time that you are used to eating. So if you're used to eating at 8 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, and then 5 o'clock. Typically, those times are when your ghrelin's going to be higher. So then you're going to be a little bit more hungry. But you ride the wave out and you just give it a little time, and then you wait, and then it'll go away, and then you just continue to work. Now, what's funny is you probably have had stints in your life where you've actually been working through something at your job and you completely forgot to eat. And then if you look back at those situations, which I'm not a big looker backer, but if you happen to look back on those situations, you'll see that there was really no thought involved. It was just the way it was. It was very simple. That will continue to happen the more that you practice fasting. And I say practice because it does take practice until you get very good at it. Then you're a professional faster. Then fasting becomes part of your lifestyle. Now, again, before you do it, you want to make sure that it's going to fit and your medical professional is giving you the green light. So try to find one that will. But you want to make sure that you get their blessing because they're going to know everything about you, medicines, maybe family history, whatever it may be. But fasting's been around for a long, long, long time. It's just, there's just not much money in it. And it seems to heal a lot of things as well. So that's something to consider. When you start to fast, it seems like via autophagy, and these are longer fasts. Autophagy is a mechanism where your body basically cannibalizes bad cells. So that's part of the eating up process when you're fasting. To access the fat that's stored on your system, in your belly, hips, face, wherever it may be, to actually access that and burn that for fuel, you have to do a couple things. You know, the caloric restriction, there's a point where your metabolism is going to go down. But there's also a point when you're not eating where your metabolism goes up. So that's the difference. Caloric restriction, and you can find this online, you can find studies, but typically it does a very good job at reducing metabolism, lowering your daily caloric burn to match this diet that you've gone on to try to burn off body fat. And the body's very smart. It seems to be the absence of food, the complete not eating of food, is what kicks off a different mechanism where your metabolism increases because your body now says, oh my gosh, we're starving. But if you have the stored body fat, you're not starving. Your body just thinks it is. So it goes to that resource to fuel itself. It doesn't go hungry. The body has internal fuel mechanism to burn that body fat, to torch it, to use it for energy. And when it goes to that system, which takes a little while because you have stored sugar in your liver, and from that stored sugar in your liver, the body has to get through that when you're not eating. Once it gets through those calories, 2,000 to 2,500, so I've read, that's what the liver can store as far as sugar. Once it gets through it, then it goes to an alternate fuel source, which is what you store in your body, which is body fat. How much body fat do you need? Well, you know, they say healthy levels vary, but, you know, you want some, just not overlapping your pants and, you know, having your waist circumference huge and all the stored. You want a lot less. So you know where you want to be. As far as I'm concerned, the fasting was really the way that helped me through. So now when I am out there, I don't eat most of the day. I do eat in the evening. If I hit the gym, I'll usually do a protein refeed after, because I know that there's a certain window after working out, so I've read, in half an hour to an hour, where you need to replenish. But some days I don't. Some days I'll go to the gym and I won't touch anything until the evening, or maybe I'll even be fasting for 2 or 3 days. So I'll continue to work out really hard, continue to lift really heavy, continue to spend the 2.5 hours at the gym. I still do HIIT training every other day, so I'll do a 15-minute bout of 30-second repeats on a spinning bike. 30 seconds out of the seat sprinting, and then 30 seconds relaxed out of the seat just pedaling. And I'll increase the tension each 30-second phase. So I'm doing that, plus I'm still lifting heavy. I try to get 45 sets in per body part per week. Typically that breaks down to about 15 sets per workout, and I have a 2-day split. So if anybody out there is lifting weights watching this, you'll know what that means. A 2-day split means every 2 days I complete a full body workout. It takes 2 days. 1 day typically push, one day pull, and then I'm on the push, pull, and I just keep going. Days off from the gym, I'll do it. Not too often, but I will. I took yesterday off, for example, after a nice heavy 3-day workout, and I was really too busy to get there. Bad excuse, I know, but I'll be there today. I'm Connor McIver, Connor with Honor. Please, if I can help you, hold you accountable, if I can help you torch off your body fat, if you want more information about fasting, I would recommend Dr. Jason Fung. There's a couple other fantastic people out there that just do really, really good work. In fact, I'll go ahead and link to their videos in this YouTube video so you can look at these resources that I look at. And these are real doctors, folks. These are cardiac specialists and a nephrologist, which is a kidney doctor. That's what Fung is. The other gentleman, I'm not pulling his name from memory right now. I don't have it in front of me, but he does a fantastic job explaining. So just go down here in the notes here on YouTube, and I'll put those 3 videos, probably 3 of my favorites. And I send these to people that kind of want more information about it, because these are actual doctors talking about it. There's a lot of other people online that talk about fasting, well, yours truly, that have no medical experience whatsoever, except it just worked for us. And some of the people have great advice. Some of the people have different tactics. They're a little harsh. They're a little angry. They yell a lot. But at the end of the day, it's whatever motivates you, and that motivation should come from inside of you, from nobody else. It should be your reason. Because if you make that decision, if you're the one that decides to change your life, that's perfect. Don't do it for anybody else. Do it for you. And it works out. I'm Connor McIver. Over and out.